Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a story that honestly sounds like a simple fairy tale at first, but is actually the foundational bedrock for some of the most important events in fantasy literature. We're looking at how a single enchanted encounter in a starlit forest fundamentally altered the history, the politics, and the very bloodlines of Middle-earth forever. We are talking about the union of Thingol and Melian, an absolute game-changer of a moment, where the divine literally met the earthly, setting off a chain reaction that would echo through ages. It's a massive question, isn't it? How did one chance encounter in a starlit forest alter the bloodlines of a universe forever? Well, we are going to explore the massive, world-shifting ripple effect of this mythic moment. But to truly grasp why this is so absolutely crucial and why you should care about this specific meeting, we first need to understand the cosmic scale of the beings involved here. Because, spoiler alert, this wasn't just two ordinary people bumping into each other in the woods. Section 1. The Divine Singer, Melian's Cosmic Origins. Okay, let's dive into the origins of Melian, just so we can establish exactly who we're dealing with before this fateful meeting even takes place. Our source text defines her as a Maya. A Maya is a divine being of the race of the Valar. To put this into perspective, Melian wasn't just a really powerful elf. She was a primordial, godlike entity. The text tells us she was akin to Yavanna, who is the very embodiment of nature before the world was even made. She possessed immense power and wisdom, and when she eventually came to Middle-earth, she brought this profound sense of the divine with her, literally filling the primordial silence with her voice and the voices of her nightingales. And this next detail brilliantly illustrates her immense power. We're told that the Valar would leave their works, and that the bells of Valimar was silent when at the mingling of the lights Melian sang. Think about that for a second. Even the greatest divine beings, the Valar themselves, ceased their cosmic work. They silenced their bells, all just to listen to her sing. When you possess a voice so beautiful and commanding that the creators of the world drop what they're doing to listen to you, you are a being of unparalleled magnitude. Section 2. Elwë's Fateful Detour, the journey into Nan Elmoth. Now, let's pivot over to Elwë. He was a mighty lord of the Elves. His people were resting on their long, arduous journey westward, and Elwë was simply going through the woods to seek out his friend Finwë. It was a completely ordinary errand, but then he hears the song of the nightingales. And here is where a simple detour becomes legendary. An enchantment falls on him. He gets completely distracted by these birds, totally forgets his purpose, forgets his people, and just wanders deep into the dark shadows of Nan Elmoth, utterly and completely lost. So he wanders until he finally emerges from those deep, dark woods, and what he finds is breathtaking. The text says, "He came at last to a glade open to the stars, and the light of Amon was in her face. He found Melian standing there." Now, the light of Amon refers to the divine, unearthly light of the blessed realm. Imagine wandering through a pitch-black ancient forest and suddenly stepping into a clearing to find a primordial, divine being radiating a holy light. It's no wonder the text says it filled his heart with wonder and desire. He was instantly captivated. Section 3. The Spell of Long Years, a trance that stopped time. This brings us to a frozen moment in time with unimaginable consequences. She didn't even speak a word to him. Being absolutely filled with love, Elwë walked up to her and simply took her hand. And the moment he did, a profound spell was laid upon them both. Talk about an intense first date, right? They stood entirely still, locked in a trance, while long years passed. Just picture that in your mind's eye. Above them, the stars wheeled across the sky for years. Around them, the trees of Nan Elmoth grew tall and dark. They don't move. They didn't speak. Time simply marched on while they stood there, hand in hand, caught in this massive, divine enchantment. Section 4. A New Kingdom Arises, the Ripple Effect. Now think about how that single frozen trance completely reshaped the geopolitical landscape of Middle-earth. Actions, or in this case, a decades-long inaction, have massive consequences. Because Elwë was lost to the spell for years, his folks searched for him, but, eventually they had to give up. His brother Elwë ended up taking the kingship of the Elves in his place and led them away. As a result, Elwë never made it across the sea to Valinor, the Blessed Realm, for as long as he lived. A whole faction of elves essentially lost their leader and just moved on without him. Which brings us to a massive transformation. Really, a total rebranding of his identity. He goes from being Elwë, a wandering lord of the Teleri just trying to get his people to Valinor, to becoming King Greymantle, or King Thingol in the language of his new land. He became the renowned ruler of the Sindar, the Grey-elves who remained in Middle-earth. The wandering elven lord became a legendary, deeply entrenched king. And of course, he didn't rule alone. Melian became his queen, noted by our sources being wiser than any child of Middle-earth. Together, they established the realm of Doriath and built the magnificent hidden halls of Menegroth, known as the Thousand Caves. But what makes this kingdom so incredibly special is that Melian lent great divine power to Thingol. Now, Thingol was already mighty. He was literally the only one of the Grey-elves who had actually seen the divine light of the trees in the past. But with Amaya lending him her power, their kingdom became uniquely fortified. They blended worldly elven greatness with divine primordial wisdom and protection. It's a pretty unbeatable combo.
Section 5. The Bloodline of the Ainur. A legacy that changed the world.
But the most lasting impact of this union wasn't the magnificent kingdom they built, or the caves they carved, or even the political shifts of the elven migrations. It was something far more deeply ingrained. It was the unprecedented merging of their bloodlines. As the text states, this union introduced a strain of the Ainur who were with Iluvatar before Ea. Just think about the magnitude of that for a second. The Ainur are the divine spirits that existed before the universe, or Ea, was even created by the supreme deity Iluvatar. Because of this one chance meeting in the woods, that primordial pre-universe essence was permanently introduced into the mortal and elven lineages of Middle-earth. The DNA of the universe itself was forever altered. Which leaves us with this incredible, tantalizing reality. Our source text concludes by telling us that out of the love of Thingol and Melian came the fairest, the absolute most beautiful of all the children of Iluvatar that ever was or shall be. Who was this child? And if a chance meeting between an elf and a divine spirit could stop time, reroute a massive migration, and build a hidden kingdom, how much would their extraordinary offspring go on to shake the very foundations of the world? It really makes you wonder. How often does a single, unexpected detour entirely rewrite the destiny of the future? Thanks for exploring this amazing piece of history with me in this explainer. Keep wondering, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.